In this lesson, we are going to discuss extending classes with child classes. So let's go into NetBeans, and I have a blank index.php page, and I've created a parent class and a child class. So think when you're creating a parent class, this can be, let's say you're creating a Twitter wrapper or a database class. What happens if somebody downloads that class and requires functionality that isn't built in? All right, they have two options. One, they could extend it, or two, they could go ahead and modify the existing class. So there's a reason why you should modify existing classes. Think of them as well-oiled machines. So for example, let's say I download a class from GitHub, I go ahead and edit it and add some new methods. Well, what happens when 6 months down the line, the creator of the class improves it, makes more security, more speed improvements, and releases a new update? At that point, I cannot download that class without losing all of my edits. That's why it's a better practice to create a child class and extend the parent class to add on your own functionality. Another reason you might create a child class is when your parent class is more of a generic class, and then each of your child classes will inherit from that and add the more specifics. So it depends on the actual application. So within parent class, why don't we go in here and we'll create this, and we're just going to be talking at a low level, so we'll call it class parent class. And we can say function construct, the constructor function, and we're just going to echo construct. And we'll do another one, and we'll do function do something. Echo doing something. Okay, let's save that. And if we go into index.php, let's go ahead and require this. So php require once parent class.php. And let's go ahead and create a new instance. So we'll call it parent is equal to a new instance of the parent class. Okay, let's go ahead and run this in the file, and we do get construct because, of course, the constructor function does execute. So if we call do something, as we'd expect, we're also going to get do something on the same line. So now let's go into child class, and this child class is going to extend it, either to add more specifics or because we want to add additional methods to provide more functionality to the parent class. So we'll do class, child class, and the way we can designate that this class extends another is we use the extends keyword. And here we're going to extend the parent class. Now we need to find a way to make sure that child class is familiar with parent class. So you have two options. You can either include parent class from child class, or you can include it right here. And we'll do it here for now, just to save time. And here, require once child class. Now by the time we've included child class, it's already going to be aware of parent class. So now we're going to extend parent class. And let's just do something really quickly. Let's save that. And now I'm going to say new child class. And we'll change the name to child accordingly. So let's see what happens. We haven't added anything in just yet, but if we go ahead and run the file, we get construct again. Now, why is that? And it's because we are extending the parent class. So when we extend it, it goes ahead and gives us access to the properties and methods from the class to which it's extending. So here, it runs the construct, so this is going to be called as well, and that's why it's running. So let's, for example, let's call right here, let's do child. And you can see that IntelliSense knows that we're extending the parent class. So even from this child class, because we're extending the parent, we have access to its methods. So we can say child, do something, run it, and we get doing something accordingly. Remember, this is because this function is by default public. And you should go ahead and, just for convenience and a best practice, make sure these are prefaced with the visibility keyword. So for example, what if we were to change this to, if we changed it to protected, the child classes can still access it. If we change it to private, child class cannot access that. Remember, we discussed that in the visibility chapter. If this is private, it's limited to this class and this class only. If it's changed to protected, it's available to the parent class and its child classes. Okay, we'll keep that public for now. But what happens now if we go ahead and declare the construct function? Public function construct. And we'll say here echo. There's a magic keyword, a magic method that we can use to access the name of the class, and it's underscore underscore class underscore underscore. Okay, so why don't we echo that? Let's go back, refresh the page, and we do get child class. And just for now, I'm going to get rid of this one. And we get the name of the class. So there is one problem here. When we call a method of the same name as its parent, it gets overwritten. Now this is actually contrary to many programming languages. It's a bit different. So when we call this construct, it's going to overwrite anything within the parent class. PHP assumes, okay, we're using this one instead. However, what happens if you require the functionality from the parent as well? Maybe the parent connects to a database, or you need whatever it's done, but you also need to do some additional procedures. In that case, you need to reference the parent class and call its construct function. So because we aren't necessarily working with an object, we can't just do this. So you might be thinking, we could do this, or maybe parent or something like that. No, you can use the keyword parent. All right, and you can see here we have access to that. So now we're saying go to the parent class, which would be right here, and call its construct method right here, and then continue on. So now if we save that, why don't we go up here and we're going to echo plus a break tag, and let's change it from construct once again to the name of this class. Run the file, and now we get parent class, child class, even though we've only instantiated child class. And that's because we've called the parent constructor function. If you've ever used the PHP framework before, you've probably done this before, where you create a new controller, and the first thing you do in the constructor function is make sure you call the parent's constructor function. And that's because if you don't do that, you'll be overriding it entirely. The same holds true for other functions. So if we call public function do something, echo class is doing something. Save that, and we need to go ahead and call that. So I'll go ahead and uncomment this. And now we get child class is doing something. Again, we overwrite this. So in order to work with that, you would need to do parent, refresh the page, child class doing something, and then child class is doing something. So now we gotta call that method in order to continue on and not override it entirely. And believe it or not, that's really the extent of working with child classes. You simply use them to extend, as you would expect, extend the functionality of the parent class. So like I said at the beginning, you can either use it to apply additional methods if you need more functionality, or you can find a case where you create one class that has common methods and properties that will be necessary for all of its child classes. So you almost use that parent class as a framework or as a blueprint, and then each of the child classes inherit from that parent class and builds upon them. And really, that's the extent of it. So just remember, when you're building a child class, make sure you extend it, and then make sure that your parent class is using the correct visibility keywords for its methods and properties. Otherwise, you may not have access to them.